We're joined now by Jim Carafano. He is Vice President of Foreign and Defense Policy Studies at the Heritage Foundation, online at heritage.org, with some thoughts about the protests tonight, and we'll also get his feelings as well about things taking place at the virtual Republican National Convention. Jim, good evening.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good to have you with us tonight. Let's start with the Kenosha. One question that I know that I think a lot of people have wondered about, that is regarding Jacob Blake heading back to his car, and the attorney insists that Blake did not have a weapon in the car. But how do the police know that? It just strikes me as how this could have easily been avoided had Blake just simply stood there, as I'm sure he was told to do. It's unimaginable to me that the police said, well, why don't you go back to your car? I find that very hard to believe, and I am sorry for certainly what transcribed for all involved, but it does seem on the surface to have been avoidable.
Well, the one thing I've learned in following these incidents all these years, particularly in kind of this heightened 24/7 environment that we're in, is when there's an incident, if people are really concerned about justice being done and the truth coming out, then what you actually have to do is to allow for a full and appropriate investigation, not look at something on Twitter and say, well, I know what happened here. I cannot tell you how many times I have been shown videos of law enforcement scenarios and in military scenarios where people say, well, what do you think of this? And I said, look, that's a video. There's no context here. I don't know their state of mind. I don't know what happened before. I don't know what happened after. I don't know what you can see from other angles. I don't know what the other witnesses said. You simply can't get at instant truth. If truth is what you really want to get to. I was frankly appalled that the National Basketball Association said, well, we're suspending our games because we want justice we want justice. Well, if you want justice, you have to recognize that justice in an investigation, an incident like this, will never happen in 24 hours. And to create the impression that somehow justice is not being served because they haven't taken somebody out and shot them in the first 24 hours, I mean, that's just nuts. And we are creating an environment where we're actually going against equality under the law and the rule of justice by demanding instant accountability because we feel aggrieved, even though we don't know what the facts are.
Agreed, totally, absolutely. And every case, furthermore, once you do have facts, every case is different. Nonetheless, and I offered what I said at the beginning, not as a conclusion, but merely as a question. As we can see, Jacob heading back to his vehicle, and one has to wonder why that was happening at all. It's hard for me to understand how the police would have said, go back to your car, and they're obviously trying to stop him. So again, I mean, I would like an answer to the question, but I don't pose it as an answer in and of itself.
Right. I mean, just look at the difference in the amount of information that we have on the incident that we didn't have just 24 hours ago, and already it becomes a more complicated, more debatable situation. And this is just the first 24 hours. So this is not how you get justice under the law if that's what you want. I mean, we can go back to vigilante justice like in the Old West where we just, take the person we don't like and we take them out back and string them up. I don't really think that's where the people want to take this country. I don't think that's what they mean when they say we want justice for everyone and we want equal protection under the law for everyone. If you want equal protection under the law for everyone, then you have to have faith and energy and confidence and insistence on following the rule of law, not on vigilante justice.
One can certainly hope that is the goal, and again, I would assume that is the goal for most people who are involved. But again, you're right. Jumping to conclusions is never correct. Every case is different, and the notion of instant justice is simply not something that is doable. It's not achievable. Even if you guess right, that's what you're doing. You're guessing.
To me, the story that we can conclusively talk about here is not the actual police incident, but it's the response. And I've been waiting all day to say this, so thanks for having me on. This is where I get to say, I told you so. So I published a piece on Fox News. I can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday, but essentially I said, look, governors and mayors who are not paying attention to the requirement to have public safety on their streets are asking for escalation and more violence. They're creating spaces for people to do organized criminal violence in their streets. And more importantly, they're creating space because there will be people who that organized violence is not violent enough for them, that they even want to take it a step further. And then there will be other people on the other side who want to do their own radical violence. So you are asking for an escalation that was going to get somebody killed. And now we've seen that happen in this city. We've seen a city needlessly burnt to the ground. We see people dead in a shooting that never had to happen if the governor and the mayor had put public safety ahead of not wanting, because they're unwilling to say, we don't want a dem to try to make a distinction between protests for justice and racial equality and violent crime. Therefore, we're going to step back and essentially lose control of our streets.
And once you try to gain it back, it'll take 10 times the force it would have taken before.
And you cannot rebuild people's lives. You cannot bring back the dead. You cannot build back somebody's business that they spent their whole life building up and was burned to ashes. You can't get any of that back.